Andor is Star Wars perfection. We were all there when Andor was first announced. We all thought, just another show about a character I don't really know too much about. Probably gonna be cool, but not expecting a whole lot. But then after the wet socks that were Boba Fett and Obi-Wan, we looked to Andor and said,
I want to apologize.
Sure, the first 2 episodes were kinda slow, but by the 3rd one, we were all hooked. But I mean, there's a reason why they released the first 3 episodes all at once. And I think this is interesting because I know people who said the show sucked after watching the first 2 episodes. On a broader scale, I think this has a correlation with our modern tiny attention spans and our needs to be entertained immediately. Andor reminds us to take our time consuming media so we can cherish the taste. And oh, does Andor taste so delicious. Wait, that sounded kind of weird. Also, I'll be spoiling the entire show in this video, so if you haven't seen it, there's the door. Let's start with the obvious thing, the absolute incredible production value. Can someone tell me why this show looks better than Obi-Wan and Boba Fett combined? Everything from the VFX to the amazing set design makes this show feel like it takes place on real Star Wars planets that are lived in and cultured. The Imperial bases are a great example of this, giving us more insight into the Imperial cultures and hierarchy systems. In fact, this show does everything right with the Empire. The best thing this show does is make the Empire feel like a threat again. I don't know about you guys, but I was getting real tired of the Empire being constantly shat on. In most shows, they serve as flat, uncharacteristic villains or faceless idiots that only exist to get shot. Andor reminds us why the Empire ruled the galaxy for as long as they did. Dedramir is an amazing antagonistic force. Showing her climb up the Imperial ladder, overcoming the challenges of her superiors, made me so invested in everything she did. I feel like if a show can make me like the Torturer, it's done something pretty special. But I'll get back to her later. In most Star Wars media, planets are kind of just thrown around as new settings for the characters to do stuff in, which is totally fine, but sometimes I want to know more. I'm actually glad that most of the show is centered around Ferrix. Little scenes like the bell ringer and the shopkeepers bring the planet to life in ways Star Wars doesn't usually do. And it's all for a purpose too. Familiarizing the audience with the people of Ferrix only emphasizes the moment when outsiders invade their city. Similarly, Kanara gives us so much about the planet's culture with barely any understandable dialogue. And can I just say the flashback sequence in episode 3 was a cinematic masterpiece. Having these culture-rich settings gives so much more to the story and characters as they interact with them. And speaking of characters, by God did they give us some good ones. Except you. You're not part of that group. Yeah, other than her, this show somehow manages to make every character actually interesting. Even the characters you're supposed to hate are interesting. Like, you know how in Rebels, you're watching the scene about Maul, and it cuts to this piece of shit, and you're just like, come on, man. Every scene with almost every main character is written in a way that just glued my eyes and ears to the screen. Despite Andor being a side character in Rogue One, we don't know too much about him going into Andor. We know that he's a bit shady, but it isn't until he does this where we realize this is not your average Star Wars protagonist, and this isn't your average happy-go-lucky Star Wars adventure. Instead of telling us what kind of person Andor is through shitty dialogue, we are shown that he's a non-dependable person who still cares about the people close to him. People complain that these scenes in episode 1 are boring, but it's better than the forced exposition we got in this shit. And you know why the rest of the show is amazing? Because we were shown good exposition in the first 2 episodes. I swear, if this show just jumped straight to episode 3 like people wanted, it wouldn't work at all. Andor's arc from a lost survivor to a rebel with a cause works because we're able to slowly digest his change. It doesn't feel like we were force-fed his story. On the other hand, Karn serves as a perfect foil to Cassian. It's fun to watch him fail in the beginning because he's so hateable, but then something magical happens. And by that, I mean we meet his shitty mother. If you want your audience to have empathy for your villain, make them suffer at the hands of someone more hateable. This is such a simple plot device that does not get used enough. Or maybe it's just not done well. But it's done well here. After seeing the toxic home life of Karn, you almost want him to catch Andor. You want him to succeed, and when you're rooting for both the hero and the villain, it becomes a thing of beauty. Because you don't care what happens next. You just want it to happen. Though I am bummed he doesn't get much screen time in the middle of the season, but that's okay because we get to witness the coldest Imperial agent of all time. There's not much I need to say about Dedramir except I want her. To me, she perfectly embodies the Imperial ideology. Her ruthlessness and determination to eradicate any rebel threat is just so damn addicting. And I am so looking forward to her relationship, whatever this is, with Karn in season 2. Yeah, Dedramir is f***ing savage, but not as savage as this motherfucker right here. Space Lord Forger is probably the most likable character in the show. The man is literally a spy that can't be beat. From his fighting experience to his alter ego and his unhinged aggressiveness to propel the rebellion forward, you know what everyone really likes about Luthen?
everything.
His speech is up there with Yoda's speech about the Force. I love how it gives the rebellion so much weight. It reminds us that this is a war with high stakes, high casualties, and tough decisions. I think for too long, Star Wars has focused on the Jedis versus the Sith, and while that is cool as hell, what about the actual wars? Think about it. It's called Star Wars. Yet we don't get to see how those wars started and the people that put it into motion. In the history of the rebellion, Luthen probably won't be remembered for anything he did. Yet he understands this and still pushes on for the good of the cause, making him one of the best characters in the show. Although we all know who the real best character in the show is, Mon Mothma. First off, look at this woman. I need her. Mon Mothma has done something no one has ever achieved in Star Wars. She made Star Wars politics interesting. Remember the prequels? Remember this shit? This is not interesting or clear. Could someone actually tell me what's going on during these scenes? Because I just rewatched these movies last week and I already forgot. But I don't know if it's her voice or her house, but every interaction she has is calculated and juicy. It's also so sweet to see her type of contribution to the rebellion, since when we often think of rebels, we think of soldiers, war, and epic battles. She really emphasizes the Cold War vibes during this time in the galaxy. And to see her outer battles collide with her internal shitty family struggles just makes you want to root for her more. The way the show is written makes you root for all the characters. You want Karn to get his retribution. You want Andor to find a purpose. You want Mon to kill her husband. Hell, you even want Dedra to beat this shithead. The only character I couldn't get behind is Bix. Her role is mainly just to have Cassian save her at the end, and I just feel like she needed a little bit more than that. Like she could have been closer with Marva, making it feel like Cassian is saving a family member at the end, rather than his manipulative ex who owns a junkyard. And yes, I say manipulative because this relationship was a one-way street. My man deserved to die, but not for her. I mean, I like Brasso more than Bix, man. And all the other side characters are solid too. They all go through small little arcs that warrant attachment, making their life and death actually mean something. Though why did they have to do us dirty with Kino Loy? Someone get this man a boat! And speaking of death, Andor managed to make every death worth a damn. In fact, the best thing about this show is that it brings actual stakes back into Star Wars. It actually makes me wonder who is going to live or die, unlike most Star Wars media. In Rogue One, I know everyone has to die because I know what happens in A New Hope. I know Ahsoka isn't going to die because she appears in Rebels and The Mandalorian. I know Rey won't die because Disney loves her too much. Not all Star Wars is like this, but before Andor, it's been a long time since I was on the edge of my seat while watching Star Wars. And yeah, I know Cassian isn't going to die, but that's not what's at stake with him. What's at risk is his connection to the people around him and how their deaths will change him. Every significant death Andor experiences is because of the Empire, which is what continuously pushes him to join the rebellion. These aren't just characters that are introduced and killed off to be gritty, they have a purpose. And let me talk about that for a sec, the term gritty. Though I hate using that term to describe media, it's obvious that Andor has a different tone compared to other Star Wars media, and Disney media in general. To be honest, this is the most impressive thing the show achieves. It's one thing to make a great show, but to make a great show with the limitations Disney places on its creators, now that's an accomplishment. We all know Disney has a certain way they want their products to look and feel. You can't brutally kill someone, no sex scenes, no F-bombs, and no blood even though you literally just stabbed a man. I'm not saying I need these things to enjoy a show, I'm just saying that a genre about literal wars shouldn't ignore the brutality that comes with it. But despite the Disney limitations, Andor manages to keep its adult tone throughout the whole series. A perfect example of this is the torture scene. They can't show bloody physical torture, so what's the alternative? How about being forced to listen to the screams of dying alien children that the Empire slaughtered? Screams that have driven men mad. And you know what the best part about this is? Besides the fact that it's Bix, it's the fact that we don't actually hear the screams. We are left to only imagine what kind of sounds are ringing in her ears and ruining her sanity. And speaking of adult tone, I'd just like to quickly mention that this is the first time we ever hear someone say shit in Star Wars. Shit. And that makes me very happy. I could go on and on dissecting every scene of this brilliant show, but then this video would be a few hours long. So to round off, I'll quickly go over some miscellaneous things I liked. I like how in the heist arc, they actually make wearing stormtrooper uniforms cool. Like every Star Wars thing has the main characters disguised as stormtroopers and it's lame as hell. But here, they actually train to walk and act like Imperial officers. Like during this scene, I was actually stressed someone would discover them. I love how the Starpath unit isn't some throwaway prop, but is actually used again later for the plot. I like how the show prepares you for big moments, like just before the breakout when Kino says this.
How many guards on each level?
Never more than 12.
I swear, I never clicked the next episode button so fast. I like how badass Cassian looks here when he catches Karn. Like, dude, look at his face. That's straight savage. This little moment between Karn and Linus is really cute. Look at that, they're like best friends. I don't even have to say anything about this scene. And lastly, B is amazing. BB-8 can take a seat on the bench because this little droid deserves all the love in the galaxy. It's obvious I love this show, but I'd love to know your thoughts on Andor. Do you think it's better than The Mandalorian? Is it even right to compare the two since they're so tonally different? Let me know in the comments, and also let me know if you like this type of content because I'll happily make more. Thank you very much for watching my video, and I'll see you next time.